Okay, and we're on the air. We are on the air with my new friend, or not so new friend, Brent. Brent has his own channel called Paranormal Portal Radio, which is a fantastic show. I've been watching it for quite some time now, and it just seems to get better and better. He has a fantastic, unique, and worldly view of the paranormal. And we've brought him on this new show, which is called Paranormals and Coffee. Which is going to be a regular Saturday event, a live streaming event where you can call in or you can come in and bring your questions for these wonderful people that are going to be doing many, many things for our community in the paranormal, and ask anything that you like. Today's going to be a little bit short, so forgive me if we don't hang on too long. But just to say, we're going to ask as many questions as we think you guys want to hear from our good buddy Brent, and hopefully in the future could have him back again. So if you have any questions that you want to give me beforehand, I can pass them on to Brent and we can ask them for the next one. But Brent.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming. And I don't know if you want me to share your last name. I've actually been told by quite a few people not to share full names, but
Brent Thomas is fine.
Right. And so just curious, how did you get started in this? I mean, I'm really curious because I didn't meet you when you first started this show or before you got Dawn on your show. And I'm just curious what got you started into this, into doing the radio show?
Well, I've of course been absolutely, what is the word? It's always tough when you lose a word. I've been absolutely involved in paranormal interest. For me has always been a part of my life. Sorry, I'm I'm a little foggy yet. I'm a slow morning person, but and I've always loved it. I've always learned everything I can learn. I've always been absolutely drawn to anything to do with the subject matter. And so, as far as the subject matter was never a question. However, the opportunity to do the Paranormal Portal Radio show just came as a, I don't know. It was very unplanned. It was more spur of the moment. Essentially, I had worked with Chris Geo in a company that I was involved in at the time, and I knew that he had the Truth Frequency Radio channel, truthfrequencyradio.com or tfrlive.com. And he and I were talking one day just while we were on a side bar from a project we were working on. I'm like, I think it'd be kind of cool to do a show. He goes, if you're really interested, let me know. I'd be happy to have you on the network. I was like, wow, okay. So I sat down and kind of came up with the concept of the show being called the Paranormal Portal. And I came to the conclusion that there was a lot of shows doing paranormal, but it's all dark and broody and moody and, just real focused on the negative. And I thought, we could do this, and I think we can do it better. And so I came up with the concept of the idea of the paranormal being more light and conversational and not spooky and, relegated to dark rooms and dark corners. It can just be, like a campfire chat, so to speak. So we like to have fun with it. And, I've always been absolutely thrilled with the idea that, the paranormal happens. And I think it's absolutely, it's not just a bizarre side effect of reality. I think that it's much more profound than that. And what I mean is that I think that the paranormal creates an awareness that reality is so much more dynamic and big than what we've been told, that there are so many facets to what we know as reality that we aren't taught. But things like the paranormal keep poking through and keep prodding us and bringing us to this awareness that, anything is possible. Everything is possible. That's, reality isn't 3 dimensions and 4 corners and, rigid. It's fluid and it's flowing and it changes and it's dynamic. And so I just found that absolutely fantastic. And I think that being able to talk about the paranormal in that light, that it's not just a collection of, dusty ghost stories and some historic phenomena, that it's the proof of this amazing universe we live in and how much potential and possibility lies in it.
Okay, so I'm curious what your very first paranormal event that you remember at the earliest age was, because for myself, it started from the time I could remember, but I'm curious what everybody else's starting point was.
I don't think I ever had too many paranormal events when I was a child, although My mom tells me that I was very quote unquote psychically aware. In case the first time I ever heard her relate this was, she tells a story of when I was 9 years old, and she was, I grew up with brothers and stuff, so it was a pretty hectic household. But this seems to be a time when she was able to really cue in on me and see what was going on. But she was feeling sick, and she was laying on the couch, and I was a little I was about excuse me, 8-year-old kid, or seven or eight. But I came up to her and I started rubbing her arm, and I said, "Mom, is it possible you could be pregnant again?" And she had never told anybody that she had just found out that day that she was expecting my younger brother. And so that was having this awareness, I guess, my whole life, and mostly in the form of what I think is a strong empathy. And uh, it absolutely fascinated me, and feeling the energies around me, and feeling there was things around me that I couldn't quite see and couldn't quite understand, I think for me was probably my first quote unquote paranormal experience. But I never experienced things like haunting until I was much older and living out on my own. Then I started experiencing living in places where there were other presences, and where things started happening. But actually, my childhood was pretty uneventful as far as the paranormal, as far as I can remember.
So you obviously didn't start in Idaho.
No.
So what? So this was, because obviously I would have thought it would have been a bit more, I don't know, hectic, just because my experience with Idaho. But I'm biased. I'm sorry. So you said you were from Wisconsin or
No, Minnesota.
Minnesota. I'm sorry, my brain.
No, right.
So not much happening in Minnesota, which is kind of amazing to me, since I thought that was, there's places there that should be metaphysical hotspots. Did you ever investigate any? I know you and Don, who's actually he's in the room now, the chat room. Hi, Don. So I know you guys do investigations. Can you tell us about some of those? Some of your more interesting ones.
Actually, Don and I haven't worked together on an investigation yet. Don I met up here, he is really into the UFO phenomenon, and that's the reason I had him on the show initially, way back when. But we haven't actually done any investigating together, and my personal investigating history is just really on my own, and living in haunted houses and being asked to do cleansings and stuff, because apparently people at the time believed that I had a very strong energetic spiritual vibe, and so they asked me if I would come cleanse their house. They would be friends or acquaintances and stuff, and certainly I don't know, I guess I have a gift for it, but I've done that and had good results. Living in a lot of haunted areas as well has been for me absolutely amazing. And I did some researching, and I did some checking the history of houses and stuff, and having a lot of firsthand paranormal experiences. But as far as quote unquote traditional investigating, I really haven't done a lot of that. But I've just been surrounded by it, just by chance, by living in the right place or living in the wrong place, however you look at it. But it's something that's, for some reason, and I don't know why, the paranormal doesn't freak me out. I mean, when things happen, when things move, when weird sounds happen, I'm not the type to get all skittish, so for whatever reason, good, bad, or otherwise, I don't seem to be really highly flustered by such things. And so, we are definitely going to be gearing up some paranormal portal investigations this spring and summer, and get out and check out some of the area up here that you're talking about, because of course, I don't know what it is about this area, and especially I live in the northern tip of Idaho, but there's a lot of history of witchcraft up here, of occult activity. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stupid things like white supremacists in the area that I've heard of as well, and thank God I've never experienced that firsthand. But I don't know, this area seems to be pretty supercharged, and being absolutely enthusiastic about cryptozoology as well. This is one of the places for Bigfoot hotspots as far as that is concerned.
Yeah, and the Wendigo as well. My personal experience, and that was just outside of Boise. So I could tell you that, I remember thinking, and I remember Joel saying, "Yeah, it could be a Wendigo." I'm like, no, they're supposed to be further east. No. They can show up.
Yeah,
They can show up.
tend to go wherever they want, I think.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was the scary part. It's like, yeah, they can. So if you ever hear anybody say anything about the Wendigo up there, I would not be surprised. So on your show, you say, yeah, we saw the Sasquatch, but people are also talking about skinwalkers / Wendigos up here, or what is the other name they give them? Cryptids.
Well, yeah, cryptids are, of course, all of the uncatalogued animals or beings that are supposedly existing in our world. So it's cryptozoology.
Yeah.
But Don and I have done some Bigfoot investigating up here, and we happened to just meet a lady up in the area that's really got us cued in on this, and her name is Cindy Goodbrake, and she's a Bigfoot researcher with quite a long history, and she's been involved in a lot of the research down in Texas and Mississippi, and then in that areas down there. And she moved up to this area prior to us moving up, or me moving up here. Don's from the area, but we went and saw her talk. She did a talk here in the area, and we started plugging in with her. But Don and I actually were notified by a homeowner, and this is as a result, I guess, of word getting out more in the local area about the show and about our involvement in all things paranormal. And so we got a call about a people that had 30 chickens, and they noticed that their chicken count was going down, and they said, can you guys check it out? Because it didn't come across as just a regular coyote kind of kill, because coyotes, foxes, raccoons, etc., when they kill something, they just grab it, shake it, and tear it up right where it is. I mean, they don't carry live prey away. But there was no sign of any of these chickens, no feathers, no feather piles or blood or anything. They were just gone. And they looked at their hen house, or their chicken coop, and they found that there was a hole in it, and they couldn't figure it out. But so they apparently were in their woods right next to their house, and they found this really weird structure that it really looked like a big brush pile at first, but as they got closer, it looked more interesting than that. And so they apparently were aware of Sasquatch prior to this, but they asked us to come up and check it out. And sure enough, we went up there and saw the chicken coop, saw that the house butted right up to a woodland, and about I don't know, 60 to 80 yards into the woods, we came across this dome-like structure, and it was made with these huge branches. There's not a cut branch in there. They were all broken. And it was even rudimentarily interwoven with a living small tree that was bent over, and these things are woven into it, and it creates this dome-like structure. And it was just like, oh my God, this is perhaps a Bigfoot blind where they're moving in. They've created this little structure to remain unseen, and they're watching through the woodland at the house. And then when the time was right, it appears they were sneaking up, grabbing a chicken or two. It's like a drive-through, and then they're heading back into the woods. And so we checked that out, and we've got some footage and pictures of that. We're going to go out again this spring and follow up on it, but then I'm going to put together a video about this and let people see what we found. But a really amazing experience.
That sounds awesome. I would have wagered that we'd either killed off or driven off all the Sasquatches in the United States, just with the way that we are. But I'm glad that there's some that still have survived.
Oh yeah, there's no question. In fact, of all of the states in the United States, everyone with the exception of Hawaii has reported a Bigfoot experience or sighting. So they're apparently everywhere, brother.
So Joel, I know you've been waiting patiently to ask something, and I think his microphone's not working.
Oh shoot! Okay, it's all right.
Yeah, he's unmuting. So more than likely, he's on the other side going, "This stupid headset."
It's technology, and let me tell you, it must be because I'm on your show, because
oh my gosh,
this always happens.
It's one of those things, I guess. Okay, let me adjust my volume on this first real fast. So My question is, so for me, one of the most profound experience I had was when I got my daughter's name, my first daughter, when I got her name, where my spirit guide actually took me um, on a quest and showed me a crystal. Inside the crystal, there was a scroll that had the name that I was to give my daughter, my firstborn. Um, that was probably one of the most profane things that ever happened to me metaphysically. Um, what would you say would be that one instance where it left like a big impact on you? Like you could say, like, this is probably my most profane,
Profound, not profane.
profound. So thank you. The most profound experience that you had with the paranormal.
Wow, that's a great question, and I'm just whittling through the many experiences I've had, trying to think which one was the most catalyzing of them all. And wow, some of the most profound experiences I've had. I lived in this house, and it was a brand new construction, and my ex-wife and I at the time were living there. Didn't have children, didn't have pets or anything, so it was just us. And it was a brand new house that was built on, in this little suburb of the town that we were living in. So it wasn't like the house had a lot of history. It didn't have, the land maybe did, but I don't know. And I didn't know of any of the neighbors who had any problems. But we lived in this house, and this was back in the early 90s. And there was the experience that we started noticing things happening pretty quickly after moving in there. Like it was a brand new house, but we'd hear like the floors sounding like someone was walking around and stuff. And a lot of experiences like that. But in this house was the first time that I'd seen an absolute positive physical manifestation of spiritual energy right in front of me. And what it was, and it sounds like such a small thing, but I don't know why, but this to me was just a really incredibly powerful experience. And what it was is I used to smoke at the time. So I was, and I worked nights as well. And I was sitting on the floor. My wife was in the bedroom sleeping, and I'm on the living room, sitting on the floor, my back against the couch, and watching TV in our living room. And I'm sitting there, and suddenly I'm watching TV, and suddenly this golden ball of light just appears, like it just drifts into my field of vision from my left, and about 8 to 12 inches in front of my face, drifts slowly by me. And it was like a little miniature sun, is the best I can say it, but not so bright that it was a painful glare. It was just bright, and it's drifting right in front of my field of vision. And I'm like, wonder what that is. It's just slowly, lazily going by in front of me. And I thought, wow, wonder if I should just grab it. I could just grab this thing. And I thought, no, I probably shouldn't just grab this thing. I'll just let it do what it's doing. And so then it just drifted by, and then drifted out of my field of vision, and then went wherever it went. I mean, I turned my head, but I didn't see where it went after it cleared my field of vision in front of me. But it was this most incredible, I mean, it looked like it was physically right there, this ball of energy. And it was so profound to me, because for something to manifest so clearly and with such detail and presence, to me just seemed like such an amazing feat. And that was also the one place that I've lived and dealt with a haunting that, to me, it was the one time I was really creeped out. And I'll tell you the story. I had gotten home from work, and I like I said, I worked nights, so I get home in the wee morning hours, and I guess it was like more morning, like 7, 8, 9. And I was always dirty from this job because it was a very physical job. And I decided, you know what, my wife at the time was gone to work, and it was just me in the house. So I locked up all the doors and stuff, and decided I need a shower. So I get all, for me, I always feel the most vulnerable when I'm taking a shower. I don't know if it's if it's some bleed through from the Psycho movies or whatever, but something about being naked just makes you feel just that much more vulnerable. Not like clothes are a huge physical barrier or something, but I guess it's just psychological, right? So if you're naked, you feel so much more vulnerable. But I got all set up in the bathroom, and I shut the door, locked the bathroom door. So I got the house locked, the bathroom doors locked. And the one thing with this house was that it was a brand new house, but it had the worst water setup ever, because it didn't matter what you were doing, but if you're in the shower and somebody turned on the sink in the kitchen, it would just be like ice cold all of a sudden. I was like, oh God. So I'm in the shower and I'm like, yeah, I won't have any problems with the shower. Nobody's home. It's just me. I get all soaped up and I'm just full of bubbles and I'm just loving life. It's a hot shower. And suddenly the water goes ice cold. I'm like, oh God. And I thought, well, did my wife come home? Is she out there doing dishes? What the hell's going on? So I quick rinsed off in this ice cold water, and I'm just hating this right now. I'm just miserable. So I dealt with it long enough to get the soap cleared, and I shut off the water, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why do I still hear water running? This is strange. It's like really loud. So I slide open the curtain, the shower curtain, and the faucet in the bathroom, in the locked bathroom with me, is blasting hot water, and I could see steam coming out of the tap. I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh, that
Oh man,
like, someone's in here with me. This is creepy as hell. I don't like this at all. So I just got the whole willies and creepy feeling, and I got out of the shower, dried off, shut off the tap, ran through the house. It was still locked. I was the only one there. So something was letting me know that it could be right there with me, and I wouldn't know it. And that was creepy to me.
Yeah, gotta love those subtle warnings. Like, I can get to you.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Joe,
really
I
creepy.
moved out the next day.
Yeah, being a young couple, and we really, didn't really have anywhere else to go anyway. And like I said, most of the stuff never creeped me out, but that experience right there just made me feel like, I don't know how else to say it, but, and again, it's just why does a layer of polyester cotton make you feel so much more emboldened? I don't know, but standing there wet and in the shower was just creepy.
So, you guys had, you've done a lot of shows. What is your favorite subject matter for the shows when you bring people on?
Well, when I bring people on, it's pretty much whatever they want to talk about. I don't really necessarily have a favorite subject matter, because I'm absolutely enthusiastic about all things paranormal. To me, that's just the reminder of the dynamic nature of things. But I've had some amazing guests on, and I just love the conversation. I love the idea of sitting back with people, hearing about their field or their area of interest or their area of expertise, seeing what they bring to the table. And I love the conversational quality of that, because it just, I think we stand to learn so much by having an open forum and an open communication. And one of the things I love about this time right now is that topics like discussing things like paranormal used to be a quick way to make yourself a social pariah. I mean, people would just be like, oh, there's Weirdy over there.
Oh yeah, we actually used to have to talk in code when we were younger, because we know about that one.
Right. So I mean, it's the idea that this proliferation of paranormal, Bigfoot, and entertainment on television has made the dialogue okay. And the amount of people that are willing to come forward now, because it's not such a social suicide to talk about it, is really phenomenal. So I think it's emboldened people to have the conversations that they couldn't. I will tell you that I think one of my favorite topics to discuss on the show and it's the one that I think I'm enthusiastic about all of it. I'll always have a special place in my heart for Bigfoot. Oh, that's a story I could tell you about having a that one event when I was younger. I'll get back to that one. But one of the topics I really love and I'm absolutely enthralled with is the whole idea of the Fae, and that this entire kingdom of creatures lives around us. And to me, I think that is absolutely fascinating, that there's a root for this lore, for these legends that have been around us for, eons. So I love that topic.
And for those of you who are listening, you heard it from someone else aside from me. And if you want to induce the fairies and the fae to stay around your home, remember, lots of river stones. Build the ring before you have a baby. Promise they will come and bless you if you have it ready before the baby does its first laugh. I swear, it works. It's a beautiful thing. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Oh, please do. I don't claim to know a lot about it, and the part of the problem is finding information that isn't. And I'm sorry, and it probably makes me sound like a bit of a dick, but there's a lot of really bad information out there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we encountered more often than anything else when Joel and I were first, because it was until we hit a certain age, we were very lucky. Joel and I ran into each other, and it was Joel likes to laugh about. Yeah, he walks through my living room and says, "Yeah, there's a guy in there." Oh yeah, I said my grandfather. Oh, so yeah, so. And this was my grandfather on my mother's side, and it was Joel's probably.
It was a little bit more panic than that. It was more like, Sean, there's glasses floating in that chair over there in the corner. What is that? Gold glasses. He shows me a picture. That's the guy that the glasses belong to. Oh, that's my grandfather. I'm out, Sean. I'm done.
Oh, he's overstating. He wasn't that scared. This is the guy who kept me calm with Top Hat Lurch. Joel, when he wants to put on the cool, he pees ice cubes. Him and Billy D. Williams, come on. So, no, but that's
another story.
I shared that with them. They loved it. I think Don loved it too.
Mm.
So we found way more weird anti-information than anything else, because it seems like there's a lot of people out there who want to poison the well so that you don't actually go looking, and they'll give adverse information, negative information, or admonishments, or even will tell you to do the really wrong thing because they don't want you to they don't want you to even go and tap into, touch, or experience this stuff, because they've got an agenda. Either it's one based on fear or one on control. But I think fear is also a control mechanism any which way you look at it. So it wouldn't make a difference if it was one or the other or both.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think too that that some of it's not even so nefarious. I just think it's some people are so enthusiastic to have a voice and to be an expert on something that they just make up their own version of it so that they can be the place where people come for that information. And I understand and I get that people want to feel valuable and involved, but it's kind of like, in paranormal research, when you have the people, talking about lens flares being, spirit orbs, and they're there and they love you and stuff. And I love the fact that people want to see the paranormal around them. And I'm not trying to put anybody down, but at the same time, I do photography as well on the side, and I've been to college for photography, and there's a lot of things that are so easily explainable, but people want so desperately to latch onto the paranormal causation, and it actually undermines the people that are really working hard to bring credible and reliable information and facts to the table. When you have one site that has a person that's really throwing themselves out there, really doing the legwork, really getting the research done, and then you've got 50, I knit a quilt and look at the light orbs around it. It's my loved ones. It's like, wow. You know what I mean? It's like people trying so desperately to be involved in a field where they're not really sure what they're doing, but they're, and they're making up things, and it's just, there's a lot of tryhards in the paranormal field, and it's a beautiful thing, but it's also, it's detrimental. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that. I actually don't usually share pictures of things that have happened in the paranormal with my family, because if I do, then they want to say that it doesn't look real or debunk it, and I don't usually share because I know the situation involved. Like, I have a picture of when my youngest was born, and it was Chinese New Year's, and we dressed him for Chinese New Year, so he's in a little boy from China's outfit. It was very cute, and my guardians wanted to be around him and cuddling him and looking at him. And so every time I took a picture, I was like, could you guys get out of the picture? Can you guys get out of the picture? And I said, get out of the picture. And their idea of getting out of the picture was to get behind the couch. And so that you could see the form still back there, but they're no longer in front of my son. But we get funny events like that too, but I don't even know what anybody would classify it as, because it was taken on the same phone. It's just my wife's old iPhone 3, I think it was, and I'm snapping the pictures on it, and there's nothing changed. I didn't clean the lens or anything. Just told them to move it finally and snap the picture when they finally moved to the back. But I have 7 pictures of me trying to get them out of the way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Before I forget, if you don't mind, I'd like to go back to that Bigfoot story, because I don't think I answered that question as well. It's one of those things where you go through this laundry list of all the things that have happened and try to pick out one, event or whatever. But as far as and this happened to me when I was 15 years old. What was going on was, I lived in the Minnesota, just south of the Twin Cities, which is Minneapolis, St. Paul, on the Mississippi River in a very wooded area of south of the cities. So we're down there, and it's in the river valley and stuff. And a friend of mine is very involved in it was called the ELC. I don't even know if they're still around, but in the Environmental Learning Center. And basically they learn all about wildlife and such. And of course I had grown up there, so I was really familiar with the area. But we went out into the forest and we're hiking up this, in the Midwest, we call them bluffs. I don't know if you know what they are, but basically they're just small mountains. They're just, basically hills, foothills, maybe to mountains would be the best description, but we call them bluffs. And we're hiking up this bluff in this wooded area in the state park. And we go up there, and now, being very familiar with the area, I never even thought to protect myself at all. I mean, it's just, there were deer, there were raccoons, there were fox, but other than that, it's just a small game and small animals. There's just, the biggest thing we have is a white-tailed deer, and of course they're not very dangerous. So we're hiking up this bluff, and we came down this dry run. It's only a spring run where the water melts off and runs down in what would be a stream and waterfall, but it's all dry. And as it's mid or late summer, we're coming down this ravine, and we stopped on this dry waterfall, which is about maybe 6 or 8 feet above the rocks below it. It's a really beautiful area. And so we're just kind of stopping there and catching our breath. And suddenly behind us is the deepest, most menacing growl. And I'm talking like right behind us, like 8 feet. And it was such a deep and resonant growl that it literally vibrated my body. And I was frozen. I could not move. And I couldn't get my head around what the hell just happened. This was not something that was in our area. This is not something, I mean, there is the occasional black bear, but this growl was like, like seriously like an elephant kind of growl. It was so deep and resonant. And we were both just frozen and could not move. And I said, what the hell is that? And he says, I don't know, but let's get the hell out of here. And we literally ran down this ravine of rocks, just literally jumping to rock, just had to get out of there. Neither of us had the courage or the wherewithal to even turn around. It was just so menacing, so creepy, so powerful. And I for years and years and years, I was just stumped. I was like, what in the hell could this be? And, it kind of got shelved in the back of my mind. He didn't know, I didn't know. But it wasn't until years and years later when I was doing research. No, I was familiar with the concept of Bigfoot. I was familiar with the concept of this cryptid being around, but not in my area. When all I knew was basically Leonard Nimoy in Search Of and the Pacific Northwest. And there's this apparently a creature called Bigfoot. I had no concept of anything like that being anywhere else. And so it wasn't until years and years later when I'm doing research on Bigfoot that I start finding, information. I start finding the signs and the things that people are saying they do in areas to mark their territories. And it just absolutely made me go, wait a minute, what if? And then I started hearing that they were all over the place, and, that every state has a presence, except Hawaii. And there's reports coming out of every state in the continental USA. And so I'm like, I just had to wonder. And so I went back out, and this was probably about 6 or 8 years ago. I went back out to that area that this happened in. And sure enough, I started seeing things that I had no idea to look for before, such as twisted trees, tree breaks that don't have any deadfall anywhere near them. And this is a state park, so it's not like things fall and people go in and cut it up and drag it out. It's just there's dead trees everywhere. And there were these signs that I didn't know to look for, but they were there. And so what I think this could have been, is did I have a really close encounter with a Bigfoot? Now, I don't think that they're there constantly. I think that they probably migrate over a period of terrain, and we just happened to be hiking when they were coming through. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that what I had experienced was a pretty close encounter with a Bigfoot.
I meant to ask, were those bluffs covered with foliage, trees?
Oh yeah, they're all forest. Yeah, yep. It's all forest land there, so it's really pretty dense forest.
Wow. Man, that's great story.
Yeah, it wasn't really great at the time, but in reflecting back on it now, if it was that, and I'm pretty convinced that it was, because basically I have no other idea of what could have been growling. I've seen the tree breaks. I've seen, little structures in the forest up there, and not little, but, of the broken branch structures deep in the forest where nobody would be doing it. And it's not hunting land, it's state land. So it's not allowed to hunt there. So there's no reason for any person to make a rudimentary blind, because you can't do anything. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like, wow, I think I had a very up close and personal account. I wish to this day that I would have had the courage to turn around. But then again, if I had seen it, how much worse would that have been?
It might not have been worse.
Maybe not.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we're getting reflected back. Give me a second.
Yeah, our voices are getting bounced back off your channel. Give me 1 second.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, everybody has a different spiritual talent of some sort. What would be the one spiritual talent that you would want to possess?
What would I want to possess? Wow. I think it'd be really awesome to be able to move things with my mind. Are we talking that far out, or are we just talking about clairvoyance or clairaudience or whatever?
No, that's perfectly fine.
I would love to have the clear spirit vision, and I was talking to Ian just before the show, but he had brought up when he called into the Paranormal Portal about his son, and his son seeing the light patterns moving, and he was seeing this fog or smoke. And I told Ian, it's like, I've seen that. This is something that I am seeing, and I really didn't know what I was seeing. So it was really cool to have that reference point that maybe I'm seeing the what did he call it? The astral realm. And maybe I'm on the right path to developing the spiritual vision. I really admire people that have that, and the of course clairaudience as well. But I definitely like those. But I think it'd be way cool to be able to,
Well, you're only about one step away.
Really, that's very encouraging.
The next steps to learning that part, to getting to be able to see the things clearly, comes from relaxing your vision on this side and allowing the visions that come to your head to imprint over your vision. That's one of the things I learned, that I was actually blocking when I was younger, and that the cataracts were blocking later when I would get scared. And the other thing is a lot of maintaining. Have you ever looked at those pictures where you say they stare long enough and you see a 3D image?
Oh yeah.
And then the first instant you get it, then you're like, oh, I can see it. Then it's gone. That's the kind of thing you end up fighting when you're starting to see. And that's one of the things I've learned from other people. And when I started to see again when things didn't want to be seen, that's a common event. When stuff does not want you to see it, they learn how to pull themselves away from your visual abilities, and then you learn how to bring them back. a stupid way of thinking about it is the movie Constantine. You know, when he bares his arms, he goes, "Come into the light," and he pulls them back in. But that's just him doing some kind of stupid mumbo jumbo. But it's a similar kind of thing where you pull them back into the light and you redraw them in. This happened when I was at my wife's. She was getting surgery, and I was there in this hospital. I don't like being in the surgical area. It's just no fun. Mm-hmm. And a ghost of somebody, a girl who had more than likely died, walked up to the waiting room, and I saw her out of the corner of my eye, and I turned and looked at her, and she pulled herself out of my visual range, and I dragged her back in and was looking at her, and she was surprised that I could see her.
Oh.
And that's the other part of the trick, is once they realize some of them get embarrassed that you can see, and they know how to pull themselves away.
Oh. Okay.
And it's more a matter of they just don't want to freak you out.
Wow.
So some of them are just polite.
By virtue of pulling them back in the light, is that a matter of control, or is that just you expanding your vision? Is that what that means?
Casting more light so that you can see past their obfuscation, essentially. You're not doing anything to them except putting on, turning up the gears in your ability so that they can't hide from the general gaze.
Okay, gotcha.
A lot of ghosts can do that, and I've noticed that when I was 5, and this one, I think I told you about it, the graveyard where it was raining, they all got embarrassed. I could see them. They didn't realize I was able to see them, and except for the little girl with the red hair and the bow in her hair, they all just sort of poofed.
That's really cool.
Some of them are quite polite. Others are just more a matter of, you can see me and I'm going to.
Oh, that's really cool. But well, it's really encouraging to know that I'm not too far away from that. It's certainly an ability that's absolutely fascinated me for my entire life, and I've known several psychic people. I've been involved in many psychic circles in real life, not necessarily just online. And being around these people is just, I was always had this degree of envy. It's like, wow, I really wish I could see what they see. I really wish that world would open to me, because it's absolutely fascinating that this entire realm is existing around us, and yet we're